Good morning. We will start session 7 on chapter metals and non-metals. So in our previous session, we understood about ionic compounds. We also understood how to represent an ionic compound by electron dot structure, which is also called as a Lewis structure. Lewis structure you will study again in detail in your 11th and 12th standard. So apart from few electron dot structure, I had also asked you all to do two more. I hope you all have done that. Any doubt in that, you can call and confirm. So we'll go on to the next part of metals and non-metals, that is exactly how do we extract these metals from these minerals or ores, right? So a branch of what you can say a science which deals with the study of these metals or how to extract these metals is called as metallurgy. So metallurgy is a process or it is a branch where we extract metals from their minerals. So what do you mean by minerals? Minerals are the elements or compound which are present in the earth crust. That means minerals are present in the form of an element or it is present in the form of a compound. Now, how do we know that what we have to extract or which particular mineral we have to extract a particular metal? So I'll just take the definition first. Minerals that contain a very high percentage of a metal can be profitably extracted from it is called as a ore. Now, what metals we extract? We extract that metals from the respective ores. Now, for example, if you take iron exists in the form of iron oxide, iron sulfide, iron carbonate, right? So, iron exists in these many forms. But which is very profitable in extracting, which is a very cheap method in extracting and economic in extracting these metals. And when we extract that, do we get enough metal from that particular ore? We think about it, only those ores are extracted. So we can say minerals that contain very high percentage of a particular metal. Now iron is present in form of oxide also, sulfide also, carbonate also. For example, iron oxide might be abundantly available than carbonate and then sulfide. And extracting iron in the form of oxide, that is in the form of that particular ore, when we extract it, it can be done cheaply and profitably. So we go for iron oxide. It's just an example. So similarly, whenever we extract it, we see that we get enough and more metal from that particular ore and the process is done in an economic and profitable manner. The minerals that contain a very high percentage of a particular metal can be profitably extracted from it are termed as ores. So what are the processes in this extraction? So the first process of extraction, basically we have three steps here, what we can say. The first step is enrichment of ore or we can say concentration of ore. Now what do you mean by enrichment or concentration? We bifurcate metals based on their reactivity series, that is metals with a high reactivity series, metals with a medium or moderate reactivity series and metals with a very least reactivity series. Based on this reactivity series, concentration of a metal process will continue. What process is required for what particular metal following upon the reactivity series. After we do the concentration, we actually go for extraction of metals. That means we get the metals. But the metals what we get are not pure form. For example, we might get around 90 to 95% of the metal in the process, but 99% of the pure metal, to obtain that, it has to further go for refining or we can say purification of the metals. So these are the three steps what we have to learn and understand how are the metal extracted from the ore. So once we extract it, we have to go for the concentration of the ore, extraction of the metals and refining of the metals. The minute the metals are extracted from the ore, it also contains many dust or sand particles, what you can say. Now for example, assume that I am extracting iron, right? right? So iron is the ore of an iron, we call it as a hematite. So the minute we extract this or we take this ore from the earth's crust, this hematite consists of many unwanted particles in it. That is nothing but we call it as a gangue particles. So gangue is nothing but a unwanted particles which is present in them. That is, you can say dust, sand, silt, gravel, etc. So this is first for a clean. After this is cleaned, it is exposed to the enrichment of ore, or we can say concentration of the ore. So let us see step by step how do we go with the extraction of metal. So here, when we talk about the concentration of the ore, I have just divided in terms of metals with high reactivity series, or metals with medium or moderate reactivity, and metals with low reactivity, right? First we'll discuss with metals with a medium reactivity, then we'll go for the next one. So when we talk about metals with medium reactivity, we know that which all metals come into it because we have practiced a lot about reactivity series till now. So metals with a medium reactivity series are found in the earth crust as a mineral. What we talk about, naturally they are found in the earth crust in the form of carbonate ore and sulfide ore. So which are those metals, or what we can say are found in the form of carbonate as well as sulfide? I have taken one example here. You can take many such examples. So here only one, what is prescribed in your book will only go with that. So we can say that metal of a medium reactivity series, that is zinc, is found naturally in the earth crust in the form of a zinc carbonate and zinc sulfide. That means zinc is obtained from the earth crust as a mineral, naturally occurring mineral, in the form of a sulfide ore and in the form of a carbonate ore. But the methods are different by going with the next process, right? So when we get zinc in the form of a carbonate ore, we undergo, or zinc undergoes, a method of calcination, and if it is found in the form of a sulfide ore, it undergoes roasting. Now what are these two? Now basically whatever metals are found, or we can say the ores are found, they have to be converted into the oxides of the metal. That means the zinc, whatever is found in the form of carbonate or in the form of a sulfide, has to be converted into oxides. Now how can we convert that into oxides? So the method is, whenever a metal is formed in the form of a carbonate ore, it undergoes calcination. A metal formed in the form of a sulfide ore is further exposed to roasting. What does this mean is, now what is roasting? If I ask you to roast peanuts, what actually you do? You start frying them, correct? Similarly, roasting is a process of dry or frying the required metal in the presence of excess of air, right? Or we can say in the presence of oxygen. When we are drying this ore in the presence of excess of oxygen, that method is called as roasting. In this process, the given ore is converted to its respective oxide. Now here, calcination is a process where we actually burn or we actually dry roast the given ore in limited access of air, or we can say in almost absence of oxygen. Why we don't require oxygen here? Because already in carbonate already the oxygen content is present. So that means it does not require any more oxygen. Either it can be less limited access of air, that is oxygen, or we can say in the absence of oxygen, right? At that point of time, the zinc carbonate and zinc sulfide are converted to the zinc oxide in both the cases. Once the metals are converted into its respective oxides, further the metal undergoes reduction. Now reduction is nothing but removal of oxygen from the metal. Now zinc carbonate and zinc sulfide, it is converted to zinc oxide, correct? By either calcination or by roasting, depending upon its type of ore it is present. So once it is present in the form of a zinc oxide, it further undergoes reduction, that is nothing but removal of oxygen. Now, how do we do that? If I have to remove the oxygen, I have to add a reducing agent to it, correct? Carbon acts as a reducing agent, or we can say coke is used as a reducing agent. Coke is nothing but the main content of the coke is carbon. So coke is used as a reducing agent, hence the metal is reduced to zinc. But the metal what we get, zinc metal what we get, is not the pure metal. You can say it is 90% of zinc, but still it has some impurities in it. So what it has to undergo? It has to undergo further purification, that is nothing but electrolysis method. We have already done electrolysis method in the first chapter, electrolysis of water by passing electricity, and electrolysis of sodium chloride to obtain sodium hydroxide, chlorine and hydrogen gas, right? Similar method by using different electrodes, we understand that. That means after purification, we can actually obtain the pure metal. Now the question is, why we have to do so many things directly? Why can't we go for, once the metal is obtained as a ore, why can't it be directly subjected to purification of a metal here? That's because this is a very expensive method, I can say. It requires a very large setup. Now for example, I have cleaned, now for example we get grains from the market, right? So pulses and all we get. Now these pulses are almost clean, but our role is to just check it once. Hardly there might be some small gravel or the stone particles in them, right? We just clean them. Our work is very simple. Rather, if I tell you, you have to go to the field, collect it from the farmers and then you have to clean it, that becomes a very lengthy process. Similarly here, these all things will take care of purifying the zinc, but the last few things are remaining, which is done by electrolysis method, right? So this is when we see the metals with the medium reactivity. We will see this now with the equation how we do it. Next, metals with, okay, we'll go with this one first. Metals with low reactivity, I have again taken one example there, that is nothing but a mercury. Mercury is found in the earth crust naturally in the form of its ore called as a cinnabar. So it is again found as a form of a sulfide ore. Now you know, if any metal is found in the form of its sulfide ore, what it has to undergo? It has to undergo roasting. After roasting, it is converted to its respective oxide. After that, it is reduced using a reducing agent. Then the purification of metal goes on, right? So here metals with low reactivity series are usually found in the form of its sulfide only. See, just remember, carbonate ore C is there, that is why calcination. That is how you can remember it very easily. Next, metals with high reactivity series. Which are the metals? Potassium and sodium. These are the only two with the high reactivity series, and they can be purified only by electrolysis method. That is electrolysis of the molten ore. So in your total syllabus, we only study about the metals of medium reactivity. We study about few ores here. We study about metals of low reactivity, where an example of a mercury cinnabar is given in your book. We also study about one purification, that is purification of copper is given in your book. We will stick to it. It is not only copper, any metal which is actually will undergo this process has to undergo the purification method, that is electrolysis method. Electrolysis of zinc, electrolysis of aluminium, all are the same, but in your book copper is given, so we'll stick to copper. We do not study, or in your syllabus what I can say is here about sodium and potassium. Electrolysis refining is not mentioned, so we'll not go with it. So this is how the metals are extracted, as what we say, this is the concentration of the ore with that the following steps. So we can say here is, first whatever ore we extract, it has several gangue particles. So gangue particles are nothing but the impurities like silt, sand, etc. These are first clean. Now how are these silt and gangue particles clean? Depends upon the type. Either it can be a flotation method, magnetic separation method, etc. Right? Again, we do not study about any of these methods here. Next, it undergoes roasting or calcination depending upon if it is a sulfide ore and if it is a carbonate ore. After this, it undergoes reducing because it has to reduce the respective oxide what it is there, and then it undergoes a purification. Correct? So this is the purification of the metal, or how a metal is extracted from its ore. So now let's see how zinc carbonate, zinc sulfide and mercury sulfide, or we can say cinnabar, how are they extracted and how are they subjected to calcination and roasting process in detail. So now let us see how zinc sulfide, mercury sulfide and zinc carbonate are, which will undergo the process and we separate or we extract the metals from this ore. So basically first let us understand again what are gangue. So ores are usually contaminated with large amount of impurities such as silt, sand, etc. which has to be treated or cleaned before we start the process. So first we will start with the zinc and we start with mercury. Now ore of zinc which is present in the form of a sulfide is called as a zinc blende, and mercury which is present in the form of a sulfide is called as a cinnabar. Now actually if you go to see, zinc will come in the middle reactivity series and mercury comes in the bottom of the reactivity series. But since I am taking this together because they are present in the form of a sulfide ore. So first, since it is a sulfide ore, it undergoes roasting. The sulfide ores are converted into oxides by heating strongly in the presence of air, that is presence of oxygen. So what do we do? Zinc sulfide plus oxygen, that is in the presence of oxygen we are heating it, we get zinc oxide and sulfur dioxide gas is liberated. See, the equation becomes very simple. When we have sulfur sulfide ore, of course sulfur dioxide gas is liberated because we are treating that in the presence of oxygen. Now similarly I have taken it for the mercury cinnabar here. So cinnabar, when it is treated, which it undergoes roasting, so these oxides are strongly heated in the presence of air, or sorry, these sulfides are strongly heated in the presence of air to get mercuric oxide and sulfur dioxide gases liberated. These questions are asked separately. That means, for example, if it is only asked for zinc blende, that is zinc sulfide, you have to explain about gangue always. Then you have to explain about roasting and then about reduction. If it is asked only for cinnabar, that is mercury, again you have to explain about gangue, you have to explain about roasting and about reduction separately. I am doing this together because these are present in the form of a sulfide ore. Okay. Next, reduction. Metal oxides are reduced to corresponding metals by using a reducing agent like carbon, which is nothing but we can also use coke. The main content of the coke is nothing but carbon. So let's see, zinc oxide, what we have obtained from the roasting process, when it is reduced by a coke. Coke is a reducing agent here. So what do we obtain? We obtain zinc and carbon monoxide gas is released. Similarly here, yes, the thing is, in cinnabar, that is mercuric sulfide, there is no reducing agent required. Since it is in the bottom of the reactivity series, it need not be treated with any of the reducing agent. Then how does we obtain the pure mercury? That is, when this mercuric oxide is further heated. In this process, when you heat, you get mercuric oxide and sulfur dioxide. That mercuric oxide is further, when it is heated, you get mercury and you get oxygen gases released. Yes, only in this because it is in the bottom of the reactivity series. Next, this process is done. This was for zinc. Now let's see. Now zinc is also present in the form of its carbonate, that is zinc carbonate, the ore of zinc which is called as calamine. So if I ask you, give the extraction of the calamine, that is nothing but a zinc carbonate. So again you have to write about the gangue first, then it undergoes calcination. The carbonate ores are changed into oxides by heating it strongly in the limited air. It can also be limited air or absence of air completely. How do we do that? We need not do the process. There are units and setup for these things to be done. So zinc carbonate, when you heat it, you get zinc oxide and carbon dioxide gas is released. What's the next process? Reduction. You have to explain what is reduction. That is what I have written here. I have not repeated again. So the metal oxides are reduced to the corresponding metal by using a suitable reducing agent, that is carbon. Zinc oxide plus carbon will give you zinc and carbon monoxide gas is released. Equations are very simple if you practice it. Now in both the cases we have got zinc. Now this zinc, what will happen is it is further treated to the purification, that is by electrolytic refining, because the zinc what is obtained here is not a pure metal. It might be 90 to 95% pure, but still there are some impurities present in them. So to obtain a pure metal we undergo refining. But before that, let us just check there are some of the other ores of the respective compounds or the respective metals. So here are the few metals and the respective ores I have written. So these also, for example, now tomorrow in the exam if it is asked, now give the extraction of lead sulfide. You might not say that we have not studied about lead sulfide and how do we do it. Now it's the same thing. Now it's a lead sulfide. Since it is a sulfide, that means it has to undergo roasting. Since it undergoes roasting, what it has to go with the next one? Reduction. Lead comes under middle reactivity series, so it can undergo roasting, right? Same process. So lead, which is actually a ore of lead, is called as a galena. Next, copper. Copper also is present in the form of its sulfide, which is called as a copper glance. So if I ask you, give the extraction of the copper glance, that is nothing but CuS. Sulfide ore, it has to undergo roasting, same process. Then it has to undergo reduction, that is a reducing agent, what we use as a coke. Same process what we have to use it, what we use it for a sulfide ore. For zinc sulfide, what example I had shown it to you all. Yes. Now see here, iron is also present in the form of an oxide, sulfide and carbonate. That is what. But which form of iron is extracted? Now the form of iron where we get more amount of the metal from the ore, which is profitable and economically cheap in extracting, that is extracted, and which is most readily available in the earth crust easily. We usually go for that extraction. Iron is present as an oxide called as hematite ore. It is present as a sulfide in the form of a sulfide, that is iron pyrites, and also present in the form of carbonate called as iron sepharite. These are few ores and examples what I have given you, so that in tomorrow in exam, if any of these ores are asked in the form of carbonate or sulfide, you should be knowing that. See, about oxide ore we do not study here, but again you know that if it is an oxide ore, what you have to do? It will neither undergo calcination or roasting. Since already it is in the form of an oxide, it will directly undergo reduction process, right? So this is what by practice you will get it. Now next one, some important process is there, which is called as a thermite process. Now what is this? Now metals of the high reactivity series, we only know that calcium and potassium are high reactivity series, but again as we come slightly down, we can also consider calcium and aluminium also in this, along with sodium and potassium. They all come under in the middle reactivity series, the first most that we consider here. Into the high reactivity series, they are also used as a reducing agent. Now, where are they used as a reducing agent? Not in any of these ores. They are used in reducing agent of different extraction of metals because they can displace metals of the lower reactivity from their compound. That's the only reason we also use these as a reducing agent, not in any of this. And we do not even study that process. Okay. Just remember, metals of the high reactivity series, sodium, potassium, calcium, aluminium, etc. Another one or two might add in them. So they are also used as a reducing agent because they can displace metals of lower reactivity from their compound. Now for example, now this is a manganese ore. So it is present in the form of an oxide. So to obtain manganese, I use aluminium as a reducing agent. So here what I obtain here is manganese, right? So always which is present in the form of an oxide, everything need not be or everything need not take carbon as a reducing agent there. Depends upon metal to metal about the reactivity series. Now that is why I told you we are not studying about the oxide over here. We are only studying about sulfide and carbonate. So manganese to obtain, we use aluminium as a reducing agent in order to get manganese, and aluminium oxide with lots amount of heat is released, and this is an exothermic reaction. Now you all know what is an exothermic reaction. So reaction in which lot amount of heat is produced, and the metal what we obtain in this process or what we get as a byproduct here is in the molten form or in the molten state. So the reaction of example now, the reaction of iron oxide with aluminium to produce iron. Now see here, for iron oxide also we use aluminium as a reducing agent. We don't use carbon there. So with reaction of iron oxide to aluminium to produce iron, which is used to join the railway tracks or cracked machine parts. That is because what we obtain here, that is in the molten form, and it's very, what you can say, it's very exothermic. Enormous amount of heat is there which is used to join the railway tracks as well as the cracked machine parts. So this type, it is simple, what we call this as a welding. This type of welding is called as a thermite welding, and the whole reaction is called as a thermite reaction. A very important part where a question is asked about how railway tracks are joined. What reaction is used to join the railway tracks? Or what is thermite reaction? Direct question is asked here. You need to just explain this part with the reaction. That's all what you have to know in this, right? So now let us see the next process. Now the metals what we obtained from the sulfide or from the carbonate, as we told that they are not pure metals because it's only 95% pure. To obtain the pure metal to 99%, it undergoes a refining, that is further electrolytic refining, where electrolytic refining is nothing but where we pass electricity for a given solution where the electrodes are there, right? Let's see what is electrolytic refining of the given metal. We will be studying about electrolytic refining of copper as per your syllabus. So now let us see how do we do the purification of these crude metals, that is nothing but the final refining step of the metals. So here we are refining, or what we can say, copper metal, we are purifying it. Similarly, zinc also can be done. So it is done by the process of electrolytic refining. So what is actually done here is we have taken two electrodes. So we have taken the thick impure copper plates which are connected to anode and thin pure copper plates connected to cathode. Now, where do we obtain this impure copper plates? These impure copper plates are nothing but what we have obtained from the previous method, previous steps. Then where did you obtain from this pure copper? It is already existing one what we are using. Now you can ask from where did the existing one exist, right? So that we have to go and ask the person who has actually found out the method. But the rule wise what we do here is a set of thick impure copper plates are connected to the positive, that is anode terminal, and thin pure copper plates are connected to the negative, that is cathode terminal. These are again internally connected to a battery. Now these two electrodes are dipped into a electrolytic solution. Now usually which metal you have to extract, the same metal's electrolytic solution is used, that is we use a salt of copper, that is copper sulfate. Copper sulfate is used as an electrolytic solution, right? So thick impure copper plates to anode, positive, thin pure copper plates to cathode, which is negative. So both are dipped into a copper sulfate solution and these electrodes are connected to a battery. So what copper at the anode dissolves and get deposited on the cathode here? So what we can say here is all the impurities will start dissolving and the copper from anode, whatever is present, will start depositing on the cathode. Now when the pure copper will start depositing here and impurities will start dissolving, that means the mass of this will reduce and this will increase, right? Thus, a pure copper is obtained at the cathode terminal. Now then what happened with the impurities? See, impurities will dissolve and the copper at anode dissolves and gets deposited on the cathode. Impurities will dissolve. That impurities will settle down in the solution near the anode terminal, which is called as a anode mud. Usually a question is asked for 1 mark, or in the whole process after this they ask what is anode mud. So anode mud is nothing but the insoluble impurities which settle down in the purification of copper near the anode terminal is called as a anode mud. Thus the copper thus obtained here is the pure copper which we can use it. So this is the electrolytic refining of copper. The similar method is used for zinc refining also, but in your book they have given about copper, so we discussed about copper. So this is all about metals and non-metals chapter. Till here whatever we have studied, and now we have come to the last part of it, which we already discussed in the first chapter, chemical equations and reaction, that is about corrosion and how to prevent corrosion. Now when we know that metals can corrode, what is corrosion? Wearing out of the upper layer of the metal, right? So when we talk about iron, the corrosion in iron is called as rust. But the corrosion in silver, zinc, copper, brass is not called as rust. It has again different things here. So what we have to do, or how can we prevent this corrosion? We already discussed. You can watch this last part about corrosion and prevention again the previous chapter's last video to get more information on that. So we can prevent corrosion by painting. We know that we paint the wardrobes, we paint the railings, grill in order to prevent rust. We also sometimes use galvanization process, right? And we do oiling, we do greasing in order to prevent this rust or corrosion of the metal. We also do alloying. Now what is this alloying? The steel what we use at home is a mixture of iron, nickel and chromium, that is steel. So directly if you use iron, there are chances of rusting, correct? That means, or directly if you use any other metals, they might corrode. But when we use the combination of these alloys or combination, what we say, the corrosion can be avoided. For example, brass is a combination of a copper and zinc. Several such alloys are created to prevent this corrosion. So there we complete the chapter metals and non-metals. Here there are few important things what I had to tell you throughout the chapter. If we have come across these terms including metals, non-metals and the first chapter chemical equations and reactions. You all should know that iron oxide, which is also called as a ferric oxide, which is nothing but a rust. What is the chemical name of rust? Chemical name of rust is iron oxide, which is called as ferric oxide. In turn, we also write that as iron oxide 3. Now, what is this 3 present? Actually, we studied oxidation, reduction and redox reaction, right? But we did not study types of redox reaction. Yes, there are different types of redox reaction or oxidation reaction, what I can call, which you will be studying in your 11th and 12th grade. So now here, let's only understand by a term or a word that here it is 3 because oxygen is 3 here. That means it has gained the oxygen 3 times, or oxygen is added 3 times in the oxidation level. It has received 3 molecules of oxygen in the oxidation level, what you can see, right? Only this much you can understand here. As I told, this will come under a type of a redox reaction where you study in your higher classes. Next, iron oxide 2, or it is also called as a ferrous oxide, where it is FeO. Now here it has only gained 2 oxygen, that is why it is FeO, but it is not mentioned here both because iron also will have 2 electrons in the last shell as well as oxygen, so they cancel out and thus written FeO, right? So see, nobody will ask you why it is FeO, how many oxygen it has gained or lost, but in case if you come across anywhere iron oxide 2, it is FeO. Iron oxide 3, it is Fe2O3 rust. That is what you have to remember in your syllabus, right? Next, ferric oxide is written by Fe3O4. Okay. Next, copper oxide and cuprous oxide is written by copper oxide 1. That means it has gained only 1 oxygen, what you can say here. That is why it is Cu2O. Copper oxide 2 and copper oxide or it is called as cupric oxide is given by CuO. Now in gaining and losing of electrons, they share equal number of electrons, that is why it is CuO. So in whole, what you have to know and remember here is not how many oxygens it has gained or lost, or only you have to understand here is iron oxide 3 is rust, iron oxide 2 is FeO, which is ferrous oxide. Copper oxide 1 is called as cuprous oxide, Cu2O, and copper oxide 2 is cupric oxide, which is CuO. This much you have to remember in terms of this chapter as well as the first chapter. We come across these terms sometimes. So that is about the chapter metals and non-metals. So in the whole chapter or in the today's class, what we have done, if you have any doubt, you can call on the same day of the video set.